She was the mother of a 14-year-old. She happened to be a jailer at Orange County Jail System, and she just had like a 7-inch rise between the carport and the house, but that could be a 20-foot wall. A 7-inch ramp. I mean, you're isolated from the world. And the girl was heavy and hard for her mother to. The girl was lighter than her mother to pull her up that thing. So I said, "Sure, I'll take care of it." Went out to her house, and she had a double carport, and it was sprinkling rain, and I backed in, didn't get a drop of rain on me, and so it took me maybe an hour to adjust it, and left. So on Sunday morning paper, it said, "Local insurance executive is a hero." And we don't describe, now Charlie was a BSer. He would build things up, bless his heart, but he made a hero out of this. I looked at that. So then I went to church. I was a member of First Baptist. We had a new pastor there, Jim Henry, and everybody had already read it. So Jim said, "We have a hero in the crowd." Now, they had about 1,500 people. And "Stand up, Roy." And I stood up, and people were applauding. And to say, it pleased me to be recognized. I mean, that's in all honesty. But also, I knew that it wasn't true. I mean, it was true, but it wasn't true. They didn't get a drop of rain on me. Nothing was true about it. So everybody applauded and everything. And I got letters and congratulations. And I also started getting telephone calls. "Mr. Brand, can you help us? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And in my whole lifetime, I've never said no to a need. I mean, as a child, it was always that way because we were a needy family. We grew up with, my mother was a widow with 4 children raised. Neighbors helped neighbors. And so it's just an all right thing. To this day, I still have a hard time saying no. And so I started building these things. And my son was only about 6 years old. So every Saturday, we would go out and answer these things. And so we were building them. We were paying for them. And we wouldn't take any money. If they wanted to donate something for the material, we would accept that, but never. So the Rotary Club said, "Roy, why are you doing this by yourself? Why aren't we involved in this thing?" So we said, "Okay." So we started building ramps, and every Tuesday and Thursday night we would build ramps in my driveway. And I had some nice neighbors. Tony Jennings was my across the street neighbor, later become lieutenant governor, and Mike Kelsey Construction. So we had arranged with a company to supply pressed tree wood. We had to pay for it, but the clubs were paying for that. So every Tuesday morning they deliver the plywood. Then Tuesday night and Thursday night we'd build ramps. And we gauged the thing of the ramp by how many beer we drank during the period of filming. This was like a 6-pack, a little short one. Then we have one 30 or 40 foot long. That would be a couple of cases. And so we would drink our beer, have a lot of laughter and fun, and the camaraderie. You don't know what a man or a woman is like until you work out there and have them hit their thumb with a hammer, and you find out they cuss. You find out, and you have so much fun, and people would laugh off the things, and people would crowd in there. Sometimes we had too many working, but the parties would last till maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. I mean, we were just having a ball. This went on for a while, and finally we decided that we needed to move. So we looked for a place to rent, and there was not one that we could afford. So then we decided that we needed to build a building. So Bill Coleman, who owned the printing company next door, owned this lot next door. And I said, "Bill, what would you sell us that lot for? Well, we'll have a lease purchase first of all. And would you give us a lease purchase, and we're going to put a building up and build ramps in it. And if we fail to keep up with it or something, the building will belong to y'all. We'll give you the building." So they agreed to sell it to us for a very reasonable price. and we built a building, and I went to Westside Votech and got them to come lay the blocks for it. And they were thrilled to do that because they were teaching young men to lay blocks, and they would take this fake mortar and build the blocks up, and at the end of the day, they'd knock it down. But here they got to build a building. And they would come out in the evening and say, look what we did. Look what we did. They would bring their wives and their girlfriends out. Just look what we did. So it was a very positive thing, and we built this storage building, and we big enough to start building ramps there full time. We had 2 trucks donated to us, and we scrounged everything. So we would build ramps there, and on Saturday morning we would deliver these ramps. So we would build the ramps, and we would sometimes go 4 different directions. So we have built well over 1,000 ramps in the 34 years in Central Florida. We've never taken a penny other than material if they want to donate to it. So we knock along here, and Rotary Clubs historically eat in restaurants and hotels. So we would stay there, and maybe 2 weeks before we have a meeting, they'd say, well, now, you can't have the meeting that day because we have such a convention here. So if you had 15 or 20 members, you could move it somewhere. But in our case, you're moving 90 members. Now, we were really a strong club. I mean, we had 90 members. People would say, where's that? Well, any place we could find that would take 90 people on the thing. So we got tired, and somebody said, well, why don't we just build our own building? But it wasn't me that decided that. But so we talked about it, and I told Bill, well, we want to exercise the option to buy the building, to buy the lot. And so we went to Neff Machinery, and one of our members was a place that sells John Deere equipment, and he loaned us 850 bulldozers, what they are, but they were John Deere track vehicles. And an 850 is the biggest one that makes. I mean, the 450 will push over a tree after you dig around it for a day, but the 850 just knocks down buildings and everything without saying excuse me. So they brought them out to us full of diesel fuel, and I knew how to operate one. So this thing was a swampy area. It was just full of cypress trees and muck, and I really didn't know what I'd gotten into. So I started digging this thing out and used that to fill the land around it, and got down 12 feet. When I got down there finally, it was 4 foot of water standing there, and we finally hit good soil. So I called up a good friend, Vera Carter, who was county commissioner, and asked Vera, I said, I'd worked on her campaign. Even though I'm a Republican, I worked in Democrats' campaign. I've never been a straight ticket. I've always voted for the person. And I said, Vera, I need your help. I said, I see y'all are scraping off the road over here at Popcliff Island Road. I said, I'd like to have the dirt you salvage out of there. She said, yeah, I'd like it delivered to Kirkland Road. Okay. I said, she said, it's yours. She made a couple calls and got it cleared. So they started bringing the dirt in, and I would take the bulldozer and I would work it down and work it down and work it down. It just, and it became very compact. Finally, it got to be solid. Now we go to this program about deciding to build. I went to the club and said to them, here, I will do this. I will build the building for $70,000. Now, I'm not even a contractor, you understand? But I borrowed a license from contractors. And I said, I will put the shell up for $70,000. And then we have to finish. We have to hang all the drywall. We have to have the ceiling, put in the flooring, do all the painting, do all this kind of stuff. But I'll give you the thing. There's no. That's exactly what it's going to cost me. Whatever it costs, that's it. But here's the deal. I will not do it unless everybody votes for it. It cannot have one dissenter. If you're going to dissent, let me tell you this: you'll be the party pooper here. So you got your choice: either quit or vote with us. Because I'm not going over the hill and find out that nobody's behind me. When I go over that hill, I want the whole club, and nobody better open their mouth to say I told you it wouldn't work. You know. So you've got to, and you must buy a $250 bond. Now that's in Jimmy Carter days, and that's when interest rates were like 14%. So we sold those bonds for 14%. And we collected 70,000 plus. When it was finished, we had spent $125,000 for a 5,700 square foot building that was far worth, it was worth $600,000-700,000, and yet we only have $125,000 in it. It was remarkable. Now the magical part about it was once it's built. See, we had one member who only bought a 250 bond. The majority bought, it's 4 or 5, but some of them bought $25,000 and $30,000 worth of 14% bonds. Dave Pearl, who owned Kane's Furniture Company here in Florida, was there, and other members stepped up and bought those bonds. And when it was all over, they said, keep it, keep it, keep it. Wouldn't let us pay off the bond. They just turned the bonds over to us. So that building came out debt-free. And the finest thing in Pine Hills, the finest thing, and we dedicated it to the Pine Hills community. This was for the PTAs, the Boy Scouts, and the churches and stuff. We've had a row of people in there, and we would rent it for weddings and different functions. And keep in mind, this was not the way Rotary operates around the world. They still go to restaurants. Well, we had a different situation, and we became noteworthy.